Hi everyone, I am Anna Kasparian and I'm here with Ohio's the chair of Ohio's Democratic Party, David Pepper. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, good to be here.
So obviously there is quite a kerfuffle at the DNC regarding Bernie Sanders supporters feeling very upset about the email leak that WikiLeaks put out, and there is some division in the party, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, there's, I think obviously that it's sort of taken over a couple days, and I think the DNC, and particularly the campaign, putting Donna Brazile in there hopefully helps a lot. She's sort of a unifying force. I've seen both sides speak highly of her. But bigger picture, I think, obviously the quicker we get back to showing that we have a much better vision for this country than Donald Trump, the better. I mean, this is not a time, and this is a serious time in our country. Just last night we see more gun violence in Florida. Every week, it's been months since flags weren't at half-staff. So my view is it's a serious time in our country. We have a very different vision than Donald Trump, and we got to get back to talking about that because the American people, in the end, care about who's going to solve these problems and not some of the infighting that we're seeing.
Absolutely. So, what the sense that I'm getting from a lot of Democratic voters is that they're frustrated that the only argument that they're hearing from other elected officials or other Hillary supporters is you got to vote for Hillary because Trump would be a disaster.
Right.
And they feel like they need more of a reason to support her. Right. Now, I think not electing Trump is a pretty good reason, but what other reasons would you give them?
No, I would say honestly, in the last couple weeks, the party has come together around the most progressive platform we've ever seen. Whether it be lifting wages or campaign finance reform or equal pay or equality and non-discrimination. I mean, we are seeing a very cutting-edge platform. I think a week ago when Bernie Sanders endorsed Hillary Clinton, I mean, I've had Sanders people say to me they were excited by what Hillary Clinton said at that speech because they said to me, and this was at events in Ohio, we fought for a year for Bernie Sanders, and when we heard Hillary Clinton talk about her agenda after Bernie endorsed her, she clearly had heard us all year long. So she's, let alone her years of experience on everything from children to equal pay to women's rights to her national security experience. So yeah, I agree. It can't just be about Trump, although as you said, not having Donald Trump end up in the White House is one heck of a motivator for me and a whole lot of other people. I was in Cleveland all last week. It was an incredibly disturbing experience. I mean, what he's saying, how he says it, the polarization. I mean, that is motivating a lot of Democrats. But of course, in the end, and the reason Hillary Clinton won the primary was because she also had a message about herself, what she wants to do, a very progressive agenda to lift people. And as she says, we've had 8 years of recovery under Barack Obama, but not everyone feels like they're part of it. Not everyone has been part of it for all sorts of reasons. And we all need to be impatient about that and make sure that we, through criminal justice reform, through lifting wages, through early childhood, bring more and more people into the fold and really strengthen our economy from the bottom up. And that has to be, in the end, what a lot of this convention is about.
So one of the issues that I think doesn't really get enough attention is foreign policy. And I think now more than ever, foreign policy is incredibly important. You had Donald Trump talking about disbanding NATO, which I don't think is a good idea. But you also have some issues on the Democratic side, which I feel we need to be honest about.
Right.
So Barack Obama has essentially expanded Bush-era foreign policy. What would Hillary Clinton do differently? Because the foreign policy that we are currently using is not working. You have global terrorism that seems to get worse by the year. What does Hillary Clinton propose to do differently that will change that?
It is a complex question. The world is right now, I think for all of us, it's a challenging time. I think one thing she brings is those years of experience as Secretary of State. I mean, we need right now really, well done diplomacy. We need to be able to sit down with our friends and allies and ones that we are also, maybe we didn't even call it an ally, but we have to work with. And one of the benefits of having a former Secretary of State in this job is she understands that. We've learned the lessons of the last 15 years that if we strike first and we get into, the conflicts we've gotten into, we now are seeing the consequences today of still the Iraq War. Yes, we actually think it was Russians that were doing this spying. I mean, that's a level, if that's true, that's a level of sort of bad behavior among major powers that really is unprecedented, but in this complicated world of technology is probably, again, something we're going to see more of. So, but for all those reasons, to have a steady hand with real experience in the chair making these decisions is infinitely better than Donald Trump, who wants to give nuclear arms to countries who don't have them, get rid of NATO, said he thinks the EU was created to compete with America. I mean, really off-the-wall stuff and scary stuff.
Yeah.
And so I honestly think the steady hand, the experience, the seriousness versus Donald Trump on foreign policy is, I hope, in the end, one of the most compelling reasons people who may not like everything they hear about every policy, but in the end, foreign policy is becoming more and more important in this election as these events keep happening. And I think to have someone in there who's actually done this, knows how to do it, and hasn't just spent a career building casinos and golf courses, many of which have gone under,
That's right.
That's just not really the kind of experience you need to run this country.
So one final question regarding Trump, actually. I recently read that after the DNC is over, since Donald Trump is now the Republican nominee, he will have access to some classified information, some of which could potentially help Russia if
Right.
he has cozy ties with Russia. What are your thoughts on that?
It worries me. I mean, Paul Manafort. I mean, there was this new story today that someone started doing opposition research on Paul Manafort, and within days they're being hacked by the same, connected hackers back to Russia. It's scary stuff. I mean, scary stuff. And in this crazy world, also things that people can do in the current technology. So I think they obviously should do a really tight check on the people in the campaign that would have access to what are classified reports. So it is worrisome. This is, there's a lot of conventions can be fun, they can be dramatic. In some cases, they can be, two spirited sides going back and forth. But especially last week in Cleveland, that Thursday speech by Donald Trump should be a really sober reminder about how serious things are, about how seriously troubling and disturbing the idea of him being president is. And we need to really unite around stopping that and getting behind a candidate who brings the kind of experience and the kind of team that can actually help us navigate a very complicated world.
Well, thank you for taking the time for speaking with us. You are
Thanks.
listening to the chair of the Democratic Party in Ohio, David Pepper. Thank you again.
Thank you. Great to be with you.